exact time because it says at 5 o'clock.
Well, what I was gonna do is ask if we could have a moment of silence.
It's a call meeting. So.
Okay.
Is it for, is it for the kids? That's, yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, just for me, that's all.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's before the meeting. You know, it's your word.
Yeah, there you go. Don't call it to order, just say that and then call it to order.
May I have your attention, please? Before we start the meeting, let's just take a little time to have a moment of silence for the elementary students who lost their lives out in Texas. And we do not want to forget the teachers and their families as they go through this tragic situation. May we bow our heads. Amen. The meeting of Montgomery County Board of Education special call meeting is now in order. At this time, could we have, I see that we have a quorum present today, and I would like to call for the approval of the agenda.
Madam Vice Chair, I move to approve the agenda as printed.
I second.
Right, the agenda is approved. Well, we're very happy to see everybody here today. We are ready to receive as information from Mr. Chad Anderson, the change order 6 and 7, the HVAC renovations for Goodwin Middle, and the alterations to the MPS Logistics construction contract. Mr. Anderson.
Yes, ma'am. I want to thank you for allowing me to sneak this in tonight on the special call board meeting. I'm trying to keep things moving with the supply chain, slowing things down like they are. This is really a crucial time for us. But thank you so much for that, Dr. Moore. Good evening, Dr. Moore, board members, Vice President Mitchell. Change order 6 and 7. One of those is dealing with a few weather days that are added on, and that's typical in construction, which we've had that in before. Again, they are requesting an extension to the contract that will push us out from that August start date, like I mentioned in the previous board meeting. But we have not received their official response. They gave us one thing, we pushed back another. We're waiting on their official response before we bring that to ask for the full extension of that contract for that. But this is just for those weather days, and we're including those into what we've proposed to them. And again, I'm keeping Dr. Starks aware along the way, and her folks that are involved in this as well. The other change order deals with a few items. One that is the motors for the bleachers. This was a detail that was left off in the original construction contract. These bleachers are too large for one person to be able to move in and out, and definitely needed motors on there, so we added those in. That's 2 motors, one for each side of the gymnasium to operate those sets of bleachers that are in there. The other large piece of it is the bulkheads, the changing of those bulkheads. That had to do with the routing of the HVAC equipment through there, the piping that goes through above the ceiling that you saw in our walkthrough that was above us. That had to do with some of that alteration of those items there. Those are the 2 larger items. The HVAC renovations for Goodwin Middle School, this is the one that I've been telling you about that's going to replace the windows and the HVAC that's there currently there at the school system. Really wanted to get this one on tonight because 3 weeks ago the delay or the lead time on the windows was 16 weeks. Today, which I've checked with them, the start of this week, it's 26 weeks. So again, waiting a month out, I don't know how much more it would push that lead time out, so I really wanna get that before you, but, you know, that's why I've been trying to keep you abreast of the the design process and the bid process on those. And then the alterations to the, MPS Logistics construction contract. The logistics is a re-roofing, and they're have to upgrade some of the mechanical, electrical in the building, and then we're gonna do a little bit of a build out inside to get rid of that portable that's outside. It's falling apart and broken into, constantly out there, so getting those folks inside instead of being outside and that portable will be very helpful, and we wanna get rid of those throughout the district as quick as we can. They're eyesores. That's something that we're gonna be doing in the Volker constructions too, is replacing those. A lot of those portables are used for PE facilities, so as we're building those gyms, we wanna get rid of those portables. Again, they're easy to break into, and they fall apart after so long. Many of them are about 20 years old, so we wanna get rid of those things. So that's the items before you. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions?
I do have a few. One of them is dealing with the 1.8 million. Is that a total of all the projects or just certain?
That 1.8 million is the logistics contract.
Okay, so, Ms. Smith, let me see if I can clear that up. Logistics is a department, like a warehouse. So when he says logistics in this note, that's a location, not a way of doing things, so to speak. It is an actual department, correct? Is that what you're
Yes,
talking about,
ma'am.
the logistics warehouse
It's the
facility?
warehouse over on Will Banks.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
So that will cover just that logistics warehouse?
Yes, ma'am. It's a large space, high volume ceilings, and, I mean, it's turn of the century, built around World War II in that time. And a lot of that decking up there is bad. Of course, the mechanical and electrical, the venting that goes in it, that's the parts that they're having to upgrade to get that. And then whenever they re-roofed it many years ago, the roof drains were not lined up on the drains inside the building, so when it rains, it floods inside the building. And so we're gonna correct those things. There's just a lot of things we have to correct. There's some, doors around the outside, like on the back part of the building, that are not in use. We're gonna brick those in instead of leaving them up. We've had break-ins on that part of it. And then the ones up front, we're gonna upgrade those and make sure we have position switches on them. So if somebody were to break into them, it would set the alarm off in the building and keep us from, doing that. Like, for example, when we had the Chromebooks that were purchased, they go out to logistics. We put security, our security team spent the night at the logistics building to make sure we didn't have any break-ins during that time with that kind of equipment in there, with that pricey of equipment. So we're just trying to shore those things up, give those folks a good place to be and work. And then also it's a place where we store our files, like our old school files, finance files, HR files. So keeping it dry in there is important.
Okay, and my second question is due to pretty much inflation, really. With, I know we had a few change orders, but do you anticipate like the cost escalation perhaps impacting some of our other projects where we may have to go back and readjust as these projects go on? Because I know that materials and also the duration of getting these materials in has impacted a
Yes.
lot of different companies and.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, we're seeing that like with the roofs. You know, we just started Goodwin's roof and JD's roof. Well, you guys approved Goodwin's roof back last June, and we just got the materials in. We've done other projects typical of that same type of roofing material pre-COVID, and we were doing pre-construction meetings within 3 weeks. So that's how far it had pushed it out. We were very fortunate to get BTW in prior and lock in pricing prior, because that project, which it bid out at $26 million, it would be over $40 million now with that. JD's roof, when it bid out, and you guys approved that back in October, November, it was quite a substantial increase from what we had initially estimated that pre-COVID and all with that. So it has impacted us on those things. We're starting to see some stabilization on items, but I know back in COVID, maintenance, for example, OSB sheet of plywood, which is not a real high grade of plywood, we used to get for $13 a sheet. During COVID, it was $60 a sheet. So we're seeing a lot of that stuff. HVAC is getting very difficult now. We've got HVACs out in the district that we're trying to repair, but we're waiting on parts or equipment on, and that's why we went on and purchased the equipment for Brewtech and Goodwin through our train contract, so that we could get it coming, so that once the service contract was approved by you guys, hopefully that equipment was there, ready to go, and that's why Brewtech kind of got ahead of Goodwin's, because Goodwin's got pushed a little bit. We found some asbestos in the caulking that will have to be abated as we go along, but also that window lead time has pushed out a lot of those things, but we are experiencing that. And Volker had put that into their estimates on their projects, so I feel pretty confident on their pricing with what they laid out to us before, and I hope we're gonna be able to push our scope down further than what we're doing so far, the list so far. I'm hoping we can save a little bit along the way from our projects and keep pushing down that list to keep addressing our issues, with all the projects that were listed there.
Then that's gonna depend on the market and the cost of supplies
Yes,
at the
ma'am.
end of the day.
Yes, ma'am.
I guess and this is just so I can make my informed decisions, I hope it'll help somebody else. If we were to approve the bid, this is pretty much putting us in line, because if everybody's waiting on supplies, if we wait, then that means that window gets pushed further out, am I correct?
Yes,
Okay.
And may I just say that Mr. Anderson is exactly right, that we did put contingency in each one of those projects, that were approved by the board. And that's why we wanted to go and get those things approved, so that we know when we start ordering and getting those contracts, awarded, that we can go ahead and move forward, because there's a lot of money out there in the market right now. And so everybody else is doing the same thing throughout Alabama. There's a bondage that was passed in the state, so everybody else is doing that too. But we tried to get as big a head start as we could on, these things.
And Goodwin will be utilizing some of the ESSER funding. They allowed us to use some of it for the HVAC and some of the roofs. Of course, the bulk of it is going to continuing education to help with that learning loss, but we did get a portion of it for those things. But that's what we're trying to do the Goodwin project with. The ATF budget will be used to help with the logistics part of that, so it will not impact the general fund at all.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? All right. The new salary schedule for certification and labor relations employees, Ms. Gillis.
To our board vice chair, board members, and to Dr. Moore. In your packet, you should have received a memo from me that says a new salary schedule for the certification and labor relations employee. This is not a new position. The only thing that's new is the salary schedule. And if you look at the previous or the current range of the salary schedule, it's about $20,000 more than the one that I'm proposing that we use. What I do is anytime a position is vacated, because we are doing a compensation study, but before we even have started the compensation study, what I try to do is look to see what the job entails and to make sure that the salary fits the job that's actually happening. And as we start to use technology more, sometimes the skill set that's required is not as detailed, or the work is not as heavy as it normally is. So looking at other districts around us and looking at what the job actually entails, the degree that's required is less than what it was previously. And so I'm suggesting that this is the salary schedule that we use for this job. There is a current employee there now, but she has resigned. And so this is the time that you make that change. Before I post again, we'd like to propose this new salary schedule.
We knew that would make you, we knew you'd be happy.
How
about that
This one is in my department, so I can actually monitor what the work is like and what the person is doing and what the qualifications are based on the job that's being done. Of course, I would never do this with someone sitting in the position, but now that the position is being vacated, this is the time that you make those changes. It's harder for me to do for other departments, I try, but if I'm not there on the spot to know exactly what the person is doing, that's hard to do. But this is in my office, and it should start in my office, in my opinion.
Questions?
Yeah, okay, and because just to let you know, I had some technical difficulties, so I'm gonna be a little behind everybody. What specifically, and I read the summary of the job, but what specifically will they be doing?
The same thing that they'll always be doing, but, and I'll just detail those out. They deal with the loan forgivenesses, the forms that's filled out. They'll deal with all certification issues. When I bring to you all the different things in the personnel report, and I tell you that sometimes we release because of some kind of certification, whether it's an emergency, all the different kinds, provisional, any of those, that person is doing that as well. Normally, we require that person to actually go out into schools to work with principals, to work with, but we don't do that anymore. It's all handled inside of the office, so pretty much loan forgivenesses, verification of employment, and certification pieces, those are the bulk of that job at this point. Because our directors have also pulled a piece, and I've pulled a piece of it as well, that I work on. Thus, we can reduce.
Is
In
this
that way.
classified, or this is certified, am I?
It was a
It
certified
was.
position. I'm proposing that it become a classified position.
Okay. Okay, I see, okay.
Good questions. Anything else?
Well, it looks like our AEA people aren't real happy, and they think it's funny, so I'm just, would love to know why, just putting you on the spot, you know? Okay. No big deal, I was gonna text it to you, but I was like, you know, why not?
They're fine, they're fine.
Why not, okay,
Okay.
okay.
Any other questions? All
Go.
right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right, now we'll move to the consent agenda. I recommend approval of the consent agenda, A, B, C, and D.
We're ready for approval for the consent agenda.
I
Ma-
move, go ahead. I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I second.
All right, after hearing that, any questions? All right, after hearing that, all in favor, let it be, for receiving the consent agenda, let it be known by raising your hand.
Okay.
Right, against?
I recommend approval of the personnel report, certified personnel pool 166, 167, 170, and 174. I'll say that again. I'm sorry. Yeah, certified.
Certified.
Pool
and-
166, 167, 170, and 174.
Is there any discussion on this?
And what she asked for the,
Okay.
Okay. Okay, can I get approval for of the superintendent's motion?
Yes, Madam Vice Chair, I move approval of the personnel report, certified personnel.
I second it,
then you can ask your question.
Okay,
but discussion.
discussion?
I wanted to ask on that, remember we had those employee hearings, and you said that you were gonna try to look for positions and remember that these were priority, was that looked into? They are, okay, good, okay,
Oh,
okay, 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 good deal, thank you.
Okay.
We're good.
All
Any
right.
other question, any other discussion?
And, the 166, 167, and 170, that was the
170.
duplicated ones? Yeah, the ones that would do, okay.
Okay.
Okay, All right, all in favor of, accepting the superintendent's recommendation, let it be known by raising your hand. Opposed? Moved. Okay, superintendent.
Okay, I recommend approval of the personnel report, classified personnel.
I recommend approval of the classified personnel.
All right. All in favor of approving the superintendent's recommendation for classified personnel, let it be known by raising your hand. Okay. Unanimous.
Okay, lastly, I recommend approval of the new salary schedule for certification and labor relations employee.
Madam Chair, yes. I do move to approve the superintendent's recommendation for the new salary schedule for certification and labor relations employee.
I recommend approval,
Second.
Second.
am I just gonna second it? Somebody did, okay, I'm sorry, second. Yeah, I'm
Second.
listening. Second.
Okay. Okay. Any discussion? Okay. All right. All in favor of approving the superintendent's recommendation for new salary schedule and certification for labor relations, let it be known by raising your hand. It is unanimous.
That's it.
All right.
Read that last.
Okay. Any questions, discussions before?
Discussion, real quick before we adjourn. I know we said June 14th, we could do the work session and the, what was it, the general meeting. Is it possible to combine it? I'm asking if everybody's. if
What are we
anybody's
combining? I'm
opposed.
sorry.
Like how we did it.
Like
before.
want everything together, work session and board
I mean,
meeting?
if anybody's opposed to it.
I'll second what you wanna do.
Yeah, at the last meeting, they requested that we split
Yeah, that
them and
we
have them
split
every
it.
2 weeks, but is that because of the convention?
Yeah, that's what I was worried about. I just, maybe, I don't know when. the
We can
date
do it
is.
either way you want to.
Is
Wait,
anybody
whatever y'all
opposed
wanna
to that
do.
for June, because of the convention coming up?
So would that be all on June 14th?
And we start in July with the
Yeah.
change up.
Yeah,
Okay, so
Would you just, do we have to vote, or do you just,
No.
we'll just take consensus?
we'll send you the agenda out with both of them on there.
Okay. All right. Our next meeting, will be Tuesday, June 14th, on the 22nd at 5 PM in the central office. The meeting is now adjourned.
All right, thank you, ladies.
Well, y'all can do it.